At least you weren't a slacker and didn't not do it at all, right? So that's what you're
That's
saying?
true.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, I had a terrible week, so sorry for still getting it done.
I
Unlike
got it
some
done the
people
following week, though.
who
I got
just
it done a
forget
week late.
and don't even do it at all. You know, if there are any out there listening. Hello, and welcome to Middleish, the podcast about moderation in all things. I am Aaron Green.
I am also Aaron Green.
I thought you might say Michael Gray, and then we could just be each other for the whole episode.
There was a two beat there where I wasn't sure what I was supposed to say. Like, we didn't rehearse this act, so I don't know what I'm supposed to do.
It's improv, baby.
Improv. I'm supposed to agree. So I said I am also Aaron
Yes,
Green.
and.
I didn't. Yeah. Yes, and.
Yeah.
We did a whole episode on that.
We
last
did.
year? Was it 2021? I think
One
it
of
was
those times.
2021.
Yeah, one of those years that we've been doing this. I'm pretty sure.
One of those. Michael, we've been doing this for almost 3 years.
Yeah, we have, huh? Like
We started in June of
3
2020.
months. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Holy shnikes.
I know.
That's a long time. You know, I was just thinking just within the last week about how we used to do this every week. We had an episode every week.
I know.
Like we were like
I know.
stressing ourselves out like every week.
How do we?
It
What
was-
more topics? But we had a ton of topics.
Oh,
We
yeah.
had so much when we came out of the gate. We had
Mhm.
so much to talk about,
Yeah.
and we still do have a lot to
Still do,
talk about.
yeah.
But I think it was like finding the time in the schedule, and then the editing, and then churning it out, and making sure. Yeah,
Mhm.
it just, gosh,
There were some weeks
those
where
were the
recording
days.
2 episodes, you know, because one of us would be
Right.
gone.
Right.
It's like, oh, it's a little more same
Yeah.
pace.
This is more sustainable, and
Yeah.
I say this every time we reminisce about how long we've been doing this, but I'm so proud of us for
Mhm.
sticking with it, being consistent. And it's funny because I just told I was telling somebody about the podcast last week, and they were like, "Oh, really? Like how many episodes have you done?" I think they were expecting like 30 or 40 episodes, and I was like, "I think we're on 106 now." They're like, "What?"
Yeah. It's been a lot.
It's a
We might be like
lot.
this might be like 108 or something, I think.
Yeah.
Is it? I don't know. I feel like it's higher than that, but I don't know. It's a lot. It's several into the hundreds, which is no
And
small
we
thing.
we haven't like replicated. I mean, there's certain messages that you will hear us say almost every episode. But they're important messages that we think you should hear, but we haven't like replicated topics ever. And
Yeah.
so
I mean,
think it's
yeah,
pretty
I
impressive.
think there's some like you're saying, we've revisited, but in a
Yeah.
whole new way. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think we have 2 episodes on this, but just for the sake, like if there's 2 episodes on emotional eating, like it's totally different, right? And so
Right.
that's one thing I really like about like our episodes is like you can literally go through all of them, and every single one that you listen to is going to have a unique topic, unique approach, unique, kind of like focal. I mean, it's just a whole different thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're proud of us. That's what we're saying.
We are super proud of us.
Yeah, we are.
And
Really proud
we
of the work
hope
we're doing here.
we hope you are too,
Mhm.
listeners. And we hope that you share our messages with anybody that you think might
Mhm.
benefit from them and find them helpful.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. We think we have kind
Speaking-
of a unique voice in these industries, and an important one. And that's why we're doing it, is because we think this is worthwhile. And so if you agree, yeah, please help spread the message of what we're doing.
Yes. Get
I
on
cut you off.
Instagram and like our stuff. No, I was
Yeah,
just
go like
gonna
our stuff
say,
already. Jeez.
Go like our stuff. Go share our stuff. Tell your friends, all the things.
Mhm.
Speaking of revisiting, I think our topic today revisits something we have done in the past. And I think we did something about how to hate your exercise routines or something like that. Didn't we do some top 5 ways to hate exercise? We did this episode 29 way back in
29.
December of 2020. Mm-hmm.
Good grief.
I know. So
Well, I thought it was way later than that. I would have guessed like it feels more recent. Like I would have guessed in the 70s or 80s.
Yeah, it was back in the 20s. So, this might be, it might be a little bit of, this might be actually after all of that bragging and like, back scratching we just did, this might be
Nah,
a similar, like almost a, no,
nah.
we're going to have
I
new
mean,
stuff to say today.
yeah. And I think that's even if the title was the exact same, it's going to be completely different.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
So,
let's get into it, huh?
yeah, let's talk about some of the top reasons why you hate your workout.
Five, not five. Top five, not five
We
top. That sounds weird.
we
Five
have
top
five.
reasons.
Yeah,
Top five
five.
reasons
Yeah.
why
Um,
you hate your workout or don't like it or are struggling to be consistent. Yeah,
yeah.
we're gonna go through some common roadblocks here. Some
Yeah.
common roadblocks that stand in the way of your workout. It's my NPR
Yeah,
voice.
because we want, well,
Yeah.
see, you do have a unique voice.
Hello and welcome to Middleish. We're gonna whisper your way healthy here.
I think this is really important to revisit and to talk
Mhm.
about. And this is one of those messages that we need to, I think, continually spread to people, because when we're talking about exercise for health and some of the things that we talk about on this podcast for doing to improve your health, movement, exercise, finding a sport you love, whatever it is, needs to be a lifelong commitment, a lifelong joy, a piece of your lifestyle as long as you live, like as long as you can sustain it. So it needs to be sustainable. And I think people stale in this area really quickly. And what we're going to talk about today is some of the reasons why people stale in their workouts, and particularly those people, I would think those people that are just going to the gym or just going to like a class or like doing a very specific type of exercise and looking at it as a means to an end instead of finding the joy. We'll talk about that. But
yeah. Instead of like, and I think we talk about this a lot, instead of that being the point is I'm going to go exercise, right? We've talked about that before. Like the behaviors become just a means to an end, right? Like I'm only eating well or exercising so that I lose weight. And I think that very quickly we lose any purpose in the activity itself, right? Like working out only has benefit if it does X versus, well, no, it's just beneficial because it's beneficial to move my body, Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
And this came from a client of mine so reason number one why you might hate exercise is that you are exercising to lose weight, period. That is the reason.
Yeah.
And one of my clients who is a triathlete mentioned this to me on one of our calls when she keeps kind of notes and journals so that when we meet, she shares them with me and we can like kind of unpack some things and talk about it. And one of the statements said, when you're using your training to lose weight, it makes you hate the training. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's so profound.
Yeah.
I've heard it and I've known it, but to hear her say it in such a succinct way and just be like, this is just the bottom line. Like, I am not enjoying training or getting excited about training for this sport that I love.
Right.
When the purpose in my mind is to lose weight, like the purpose is to burn calories, the purpose is to earn food. I think that is a really backwards way of looking at exercise or training for an event or picking up a new sport.
No, I completely agree. I think when we approach it like that, just right from the start, it's obligation. It's a task. It's a thing that's in the way of where I really want to get to. I just have to do it enough. And I mean, I think everybody starts where they start, right? And if you're starting there and that's what's getting you to the gym, and okay, I think everybody starts where they start and there's no wrong place to start. But I think if that's where you're starting, is like, okay, I'm working out solely to lose weight. I think you can probably expect, if there's not a shift, expect that to burn out pretty quickly, because you are trying to do something that only has purpose outside of itself on a regular basis, right? Like most people, if they're trying to lose weight, they're probably exercising 2 to 5 times a week, intentional exercise. That's a lot of disruption to your life when the activity has no value in and of itself, right? It's just a means to an end, like Aaron was saying. Oh, then it sucks quick,
Yeah.
And on top of that, like, I'll be honest, as a trainer, like, strength training isn't a super great way to burn a bunch of calories.
No.
It burns some, sure, absolutely. Everything does, right? But like, it's not, I mean, if I was working with someone who really needed to lose weight, our primary focus would be like, hey, let's look at your nutrition overall, right? Let's start there. And then let's get you moving in ways that you like and you can do on a consistent basis. I don't care what it is. Yoga, stretching, if it's strength training, great. I'm biased as a trainer, the strength training, but I mean, starting out, I don't care. What can you do? What will you do consistently? What will you enjoy?
Yeah.
And so when it's just about losing weight, it's kind of corrupted from the start. And there's no like, hey, I'm doing this because I'm worth taking care of. Like, I feel good being strong. It's like all of that's like, nope, get me the pounds down. That's all that matters. Yeah.
And I think it's important for people to know the benefits of the different modalities of exercise beyond just calorie burn and beyond how they balance with energy balance. Like when we talk about strength training, for example, so just to reiterate some of the very basic guidelines from the CDC on adults and exercise, the recommendations are 150 minutes, that's 150 minutes per week of moderate intensity exercise. This could be hiking or walking. This could be like bike rides, it could be a fitness class. It could be a lot of things. And then plus 2 days a week, at least, of strength training. Now, to your point, the strength training is not a great way to burn a ton of calories. And we often overestimate that post exercise caloric bump that people get. It really does not amount to very much for most people. It amounts to less than 100 calories a day for most people, depending on, the type of how fit you are, how much muscle mass you have, all the things. But really, like for the general population, you can't rely on, oh, I did this, 30-minute high intensity, strength routine, and now I'm going to burn a whole bunch of calories for the next 24 hours. That's not really accurate.
Yeah.
And so I think it's more important to talk about, well, especially as we age, and we did a whole podcast on aging and exercise and how important it is. It helps with reaction time. It helps with balance. It helps with activities of daily living, like grabbing the groceries out of the car or, picking up your kid or sweeping the steps or all those things. So that's important. Flexibility is really important for
mobility,
like tying your shoes or, reaching something on a shelf or whatever. So, and then just like the joy of movement that can connect you to other people. So you find a community of people that you can go find a walking group, find a class that you enjoy the people in the class, learn a new skill. So you have like a group that you can connect to. There's so many benefits. We can't, don't get me started on the brain benefits, memory, cognition, concentration, mood, like all of the things that exercise does for you. I just listed a shitload of things and none of them had to do
I got a list too.
Weight.
Coordination and balance, right? Like, as if you're aging at all, grip strength. It keeps your tissue young and pliable. You are less likely to get injured, and if you get injured, you are a lot more likely to recover quickly. It's major surgeries, you're going to recover a lot faster. My own parents have had several surgeries in the last 10 years, right? They've been strength training for a decade plus. Every single time their doctors are like, wow, you were recovering fast. It must be because you're so strong, Like, it's
and
just
blood flow. You're getting blood flow to those tissues. It's good for digestive health. It's great for families to, I mean, how many families will like you ride bikes with your daughters or go for walks with them? How many families bond over basketball games or, playing catch or, getting into whitewater rafting? Who knows? Like there's so many,
endless.
many benefits
that will enrich your life and bring a higher quality and most likely a like more longevity than losing weight ever will.
Yeah.
Just to put
Agree.
that out there.
And yeah, why don't you just say that again?
Okay.
Say it again.
Okay. So
Listen up, people.
Yeah, you're right. This is important. So all the reasons that Aaron and I listed, I mean, balance, mood, like aging well, like recover, like, I mean, all this, I don't know, what, 20 things we just listed, maybe
Or
more.
more.
Yeah, literally maybe more. It, exercise improving these things there's a really good chance, I'll say, do more for both the quality of your physical life and mental and emotional life, as well as just how long you live, the longevity of your life, than losing weight probably ever will. So if
Mic
you're
drop.
really interested in being healthy, right? Like if you're really interested in being healthy, do things that make you healthy for the sake of taking care of you and being healthier.
Yeah.
Right? Because, and I know we've said this before, but like as soon as eating vegetables and eating fruit and exercising and getting good sleep and, as soon as those things have value, everything changes. Because then if you're trying to lose weight and the scale hasn't moved for a week, instead of, well, all these things are just pointless because they're not making the scale go down. They still have immense value. There's reasons to do them. There are internal reasons to do them, like because I care about myself, because I want to be healthy. I want to set all these reasons. A good example for my kids. I mean, all this stuff. Yeah. Then there's reasons to continue to do them, even if the scale isn't changing. And when we adopt those things, when we adopt those habits in ways that they have value in and of themselves, honestly, what's going to stop you?
Yeah.
If taking care of you is worth it just because you're worth taking care of, okay, looks like we're doing this forever.
Yeah.
Versus if the only reason is to lose weight, well, when you don't lose a pound for 3 days, screw this. What is the point of any of this? It's immediately out the window. Immediately out the window. Yeah.
And I think that's really the core of getting people to really understand that long-term commitment to moving your body. And I like to use the term movement. I mean, we can say exercise, we can say training. If you're training for an event, we can say workouts, whatever, but just move your body and really appreciate this vehicle that takes you through life and allows you to see and touch and hug and, travel and all of the things.
Yeah.
So
every positive experience you've had has been allowed.
Your body takes you there.
Yeah.
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 So if the only reason you're working out is to not hate your body, then there's deeper work that needs to be done.
Yeah.
It's not about the exercise. It's not, is not what's going to make you happy or make you feel better about your body or yourself.
Yep.
So that's where I'm huge on, find a therapist, a counselor, if you want to work with somebody who's a trainer or a life coach or whatever. I mean, I talk about this with my clients. I'm a dietitian. As long as people are working within their scope, there's somebody out there who can help you just see things differently and maybe just ask some different questions around why you're doing the exercise. So,
yeah. Okay. Reason 2, okay. You want to move on? I feel like we could do reason 1 for an hour.
We could probably. Reason 1 kind of encapsulates everything.
Up on it.
We might have to do an entire episode on don't do, well, we talk about this a lot though. Don't do things just to lose weight and make your body smaller. So
yeah, maybe we should do one on like why strength training for weight loss sucks or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. And all the other little like geeky scientific benefits of it.
Yeah.
So, reason 2, why you hate your workout or why you might hate your workout is because you're comparing yourself to other people constantly. And
constantly talk about this with clients. Yeah. Well, I saw this person who looked about my age at the gym and they were doing this, or I saw, some girl who kind of looked like me when I was 20 years younger and it made me miss my body. Like there's just Yeah. It's a lot of
Yeah.
comparison, especially at the gym.
Yes.
Especially at
Or
the gym.
that person is, running on an incline and I'm
Mm-hmm.
not, or that person is lifting heavier weight than I am, or
Or
that
my
person
friend and I
looks,
started at the same time, and
yes,
she's
that
so much
person looks
further.
sweatier than I. So
Right.
I had
Yeah.
this really interesting conversation with a young client of mine she's in her um late teens. I think she's 19
Mm-hmm.
or 20. And she's into physical fitness. She's wanting to go into kind of the personal training route. She teaches some classes at a gym. And she came to me. She has some body image things that we're talking about working through and some food freedom
Mm-hmm.
work that we're doing. So she comes to me on one of our appointments and she's like, I'm really super bummed. I want to ask you about this. I did a workout with my friend the other day
Mm-hmm.
and we did the exact same workout.
Mm-hmm.
And her gadget, her Garmin or whatever she was wearing on her wrist said she burned more calories than I did. And she was really bummed about this. And
Mm-hmm.
I was like, well, what does that mean to you? We just kind of started opening up the conversation
Yeah.
into like, what are you telling yourself about that is so bad? And in her mind, the lesser caloric burn for her meant she didn't get as hard of a workout. She didn't work as hard.
Right.
There was like this competitiveness, like I'm not
Yeah.
doing enough. And there was all this comparison. It was all about comparison. And I said, well,
Mm-hmm.
how would you have felt about your workout if you didn't know how many calories your friend burned? And all you had was your little gadget, your workout, your heart rate, all the things. And she's like, well, yeah, I guess I probably wouldn't have thought on it so much. And I think that kind of changed your mindset to
Yeah.
more curiosity around, well, why might my friend have shown a higher caloric burn? So we had a very good conversation about physiologically
Mm-hmm.
why someone who might be around the same size as you are that does the
Mm-hmm.
exact same workout might have a higher caloric burn. Number one is that the freaking gadget is working off of some algorithm and
Yep.
some photo sensor for heart rate, and who knows how freaking accurate this is. And so I was like, well,
That's
number
what
one,
yeah.
the data is flawed.
That's what I was queued up with if you weren't going to say it. I was like, I'm going to say a thing, and then we're going to talk about how calorie counters and step counters are
Suck.
pretty unreliable.
Yeah.
So there you go. Go to the exact same workout with the exact same intensity. I mean, no, you can't, but if you could, and it would not say the same thing because they're unreliable. It's like relying on the calorie counters on treadmills. Like, get the fuck out of here. Like, it doesn't, they're super unreliable, just like calorie counts for what's going in, it just doesn't work.
I mean,
Yeah.
probably the best way for somebody to really get a decent estimate of calories is to wear, I would say, a chest strap heart rate monitor, not one of these photo sensor, like wrist watches or whatever, rings. Some people wear like the Aura ring or whatever. Those just aren't as accurate as like a chest strap. And then you need to track your heart rate all the way through, and you need to figure out METs. So that's metabolic equivalent. So METs, you find a MET table and you figure out like the METs of like the intensity you're working at for a given activity. And you literally go through that entire workout, especially if it's like at the gym where you're starting and stopping a lot, like weight training, and you need to like keep track of the actual time spent working versus the actual time spent resting versus the time spent standing versus the time spent sitting versus the time you stood at the water fountain. Like, there's all of these things. It gets really complicated quickly.
Super fast.
So my message is, don't fucking worry about it.
Yeah, chill out. Just go work hard.
Just go enjoy your workout and stop worrying about how many calories you spent. And then to layer it on, certainly don't worry about how many calories you expended compared to your friend, because that just sets you up for feeling inferior and hating on the workout you just accomplished and all that great stuff you did for your body just because your friend burned 600 calories and you burned 500 calories.
Right. It's wild. It's understandable. I get it, but it's also, when you step back for a second, you think about it, it is wild how quickly we are, or how quickly we dismiss honest progress, good progress, like good consistency because of a thing, right? Like, man, I was
thing that
having,
doesn't matter.
it doesn't matter. Excuse me. Doesn't fucking matter at all. At all. Not even
Yeah.
a little bit. Right. Like I mean, I've been doing this for 14 years. I've worked with so many clients who are like, man, I was having such a good week. And then I stepped on the scale on Saturday and I was up 2 pounds. And it's immediately everything I did this week is trash. It didn't work. All for nothing. Right. Same thing here. Like you can have a great workout. Oh, your calories were higher. I guess everything I did was worthless. And I, it wasn't enough. None of it counts. And we're so quick to dismiss like just putting one foot in front of the other. You know what I mean? Yep. And we're so quick to just kind of disregard like all of our progress. And it's like I said, I get it. That's sort of like the kind of big hive mind, like how we think about, exercise and nutrition. It's diet culture that's just kind of everywhere for us. But man, we really gotta, I guess, piggybacking to the previous reason, like we really have to figure out how do activities that make us healthier people become worthwhile doing just in and of themselves. Like how do these things become important enough that they aren't a means to an end, just they're the point. Like that's the point. Right. And yeah. Okay.
And that someone else's accomplishments
Yeah.
or someone else's effort or someone else's drive or their training program takes nothing away from what you are doing, because you have full control over, I mean, presumably how much you put into your workout, how many days a week you work out, what kind of training plan you engage in, what kind of exercise you engage in, how you're feeling for the day, and how much you want to get out. Like setting that intention for the workout, I think could be really helpful too. And I just want to share, a little insight into my world. We're, training to compete with other people and having a highly competitive mindset and being on a training program where I was pushing myself often. And I had like very key workouts where the whole point of this is for you to really push those boundaries and really improve your VO2 max and all the things. And it's not comfortable. It doesn't feel good. It's not fun. And it can really get in your head if you're comparing those workouts that you're doing to other people. And it's all out there. There's apps like Strava where you can see what your competitor is doing. There's, they post it on social media. And then of course you see it like in training camps. They're going to this big training camp. They're doing 30 hours a week of training and all this stuff. And it's really easy as a competitive athlete to let that get in your head and just erode everything you've worked for. Yep. And I think one of the best shifts I had from a mindset standpoint was when I decided my effort is my own. Like my training plan and my journey is my own. And what all those other people are doing takes nothing away from the integrity and the intent of my training plan. So I focused on my work, what's in front of me, like my mom used to say, tend to your own knitting, like tend to what you are doing and use those opportunities of competition with other people to push yourself. I think that's awesome. And it's great. And it's motivating. And, that can be really fun. And I can think of a number of workouts where I leveraged that group dynamic and that little bit of like competitive nature I have within myself to really dig out some extra fitness. But if that's all I'm doing out there, if all I'm doing in my training plan or in my endeavors is to compete with other people all the time, and it turns around into this internalized judgment of what I am not doing, that is a recipe for burnout and just feeling like shit all the time and being unhappy, just genuinely unhappy with what you are doing in your exercise or training routine. So absolutely. Yeah, kind of on that same vein of like tend to your own knitting. Is that what you said? Tend to your own knitting. Tend to your own knitting, yeah. It's like eyes on your own test kind of thing, right? And not just on your own test to see how you're comparing, but it's like because everybody else has a different test. Everybody's test is different. Everybody's studied for different things that, so to look over at this person's test and what they're doing, it's like, it's not the same test.
and they've studied differently, and they've had, like everything is unique, right? Like your whole way forward is unique. That's why we have to have a unique approach, like we talk about all the time. And so, I mean, you're literally like comparing apples and oranges, like these aren't the same
Right.
things. There's nothing to compare. You can pull out and cherry pick certain things to compare, but there's a million other factors that you're ignoring that go into why things happen the way they did on that specific day at that specific time, because it may have been different the next day, right? But like that you have to ignore to be able to compare these things. And so it's like, I mean, people don't mean it this way, but it's a dishonest comparison, right? It's intentionally choosing things that you're going to feel bad about for yourself about, right? Like we do this, like, oh, I'm not enough and I'm not measuring up here, and see, here's evidence. She worked harder than me.
Right.
And it's just, there's nothing to compare.
And the last thing I'll say about that is a lot of people compare how well they are able to do things based on how their body looks doing them. How do the clothes look on me? How do I look in photographs? This person looks leaner and more muscular than I do, so they must be a better athlete, or they must be working harder, or whatever. I'm shit. All of a sudden you like start shitting all over yourself. Right. I have a client who is like she is a phenomenal skier. She's been skiing like her whole life, and she can go do like some big backcountry days. And she has really come to this place of appreciating what her body can do instead of how it looks, because she'll even acknowledge, like, I have friends that are thinner than me and that look more athletic than me, in tights or whatever, but they can't hang with me on the mountain. Yeah. They can't do the same kinds of things I can do. And so I'll just leave it with, don't compare your effort to other people based on like calorie burns or whatever, and don't compare based on your body size and shape either.
Right. Yep. All right. Reason 3. Huh?
Go for it.
Oh, I thought you said, like you wanted to say something else.
I said, so go.
So go. Oh, we're doing all the rhyming words.
Rhyming.
Sophie's at the age where, like, when she accidentally rhymes something, she's like, hey, I did it. That rhymes. That's pretty awesome. Oh, what else
cute.
rhymes? It's super fun.
I love it.
All right. Reason 3. You expect working out to always be fun. Okay. Starting. Oh, yeah.
Wah.
Yeah, you expect it to always be a good time. So my initial thought on this is 100% agree, but I think we want to qualify it a little bit. And Aaron and I, we kind of talked about this. So I think when someone is first trying to establish an exercise routine, right? They're looking at increasing activity during, the week, and probably doing some things they haven't been doing. I think it's really important that whatever that is, that it doesn't matter what that is, as long as they're looking forward to it, or at least excited about the challenge of it, right? So I think establishing a new exercise routine in your life, make it as accessible and easy and enjoyable as possible. Absolutely. In fact, that's where I start with clients. Like, hey, what do you like to do? How do you like to move your body? Do you want to strength train? Do you want to walk? Let's explore all the options, because whatever you're going to do, cool. We're building a habit. At some point, I think at some point as we've built this into our lives and we built a habit, and this is just kind of what we're doing, we can expect to do it sometimes when it's not super fun, right? Like, it's not always going to be like, yay, I can't wait. And I think that's part of the process of learning to invest and care about yourself in self-care ways, is that sometimes you're like, you know what, I'm going to do the thing I don't really want to do. I don't feel like doing, or I'm not excited about doing. So there's a balance here, I think, because you certainly don't want to be bored with your workout all the time. That's a great way to just hate it.
Right.
But at the same time, if it's, once you've if you're establishing an exercise routine, keep it fun, keep it easy, keep it simple. Please hear that. That's really, really important. Okay. But if you've established it for a while, if you're branching out in some ways, or maybe adding days, or, that kind of stuff, then sometimes it's not going to be the most super fun thing. Okay. It can feel like maybe a bit of a drag to get there, or like an interruption in your day. But there is this element, like eating well and making plans, for meals, all that kind of stuff, where at some point we're going to have to just do the thing because outside of this moment, it's the thing we want to do, right? We're not guided solely by feeling or want to, we're invested, right? Like this is a thing I'm just going to do because I know that I want to do it, right?
Yeah.
Like
I know
not
that
based on my feeling, it's just a thing.
Yeah, I know that the outcome and the long game is more important than just this moment of what I want to do. And so my friend Marla and I talk about this. We've gone skiing together quite a bit this winter, and she was a personal trainer and a fitness instructor for many, many years. And she got kind of burnt out on it, and she is now in real estate. But coming from someone like that who has like spent so much of her waking time in a gym, she still goes to the gym. She does not love it. I just told you she's burnt out. Like she changed careers, but she says she'll go up on the mountain. We'll be skiing. And she's like, this is why we go to the gym. This is why, because we can come out here and we can ski and we can feel good and we can enjoy the fresh air in the wintertime and do these things and let our bodies, are up to the task because we've gone to the gym and done the other things. So I think that is a really good notion to kind of keep in mind when you're thinking about, oh, I don't want to go for this jog, or I don't want to go for, I'm kind of, I don't want to go do the same exercise class that I've done for many years, whatever. If you have a deeper reason for doing that, and if you're doing it from a self-care standpoint of, I want my body to keep showing up for me. I want to keep my brain healthy. This is so good for my coordination. I can feel when I don't do these things because I start to get a little wobbly and all of those things that will help keep you going when things do get a little bit dull. And chances are it's going to get stale at some point. I mean, I love exercise and I've had plenty of times when I'm like, I just am kind of bored with it right now, know?
Yeah,
Totally.
Absolutely same. I mean, when I was in Oregon, I mean, I worked all day at the gym. I didn't want to be at the gym any longer.
Yeah, totally.
Like, this is stupid. I've been here for 8-10 hours. Like, I don't want to be here anymore, But you just kind of decide, even though I don't want to, I'm going to. Because that larger picture, of I know what this is leading me towards. And outside of this moment, if I go home and don't do it, I'm going to be kicking myself. And honestly, one thing that I've done a lot for myself, but also for clients is, Aaron made a note of this on our notes, and I want to reiterate it, is that a lot of times the deciding to do it is harder than actually doing it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, we're good about like putting up roadblocks and stuff in the way of like, okay, getting my shoes on, all my clothes, and driving to the gym, right? Once you're there, usually it's a lot easier. It's just that, okay, I'm going to go. And so I think what can be really helpful is when you do decide, when you're in those moments, like, I don't really want to do it, and then you decide to, take note afterwards, right? Like acknowledge it mentally, maybe even verbally, like, I'm really glad I did this.
Yes.
Because there's evidence and proof for you in the future when you're like, I don't wanna, to go like, oh, but you know what? When I don't wanna and I do, I'm usually glad I did. Now, this isn't saying all the time. There's no black and white here, right? There are absolutely times that I have skipped a workout and it's been the best thing for me. I've had clients that, I didn't work out this week, and I'm telling them, you made the right call. Good job resting. Good job taking care of your mental health, not feeling obligated. So there's no black and white here. Okay, so please don't take it as that, because I think on all of these, except for maybe number one, I don't know. But Aaron, I would say, it can kind of go both ways. But that's why it's important to know yourself, right? And to kind of know where you trip yourself up. But if you are constantly finding yourself not interested in going just because it's not going to be fun, or you don't feel like it, maybe we need to build up some resiliency to doing things we don't want to do, right? Just some practice doing hard things, because it does get easier. And it also, like I said, it offers us that proof for us in the future of, hey, I know I'm going to be glad I did this.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love just one of the comments we have in here in our notes is, I'm committed to me. So coming from that place of self-care and just reminding yourself that you are worth the time and the effort, and maybe not doing something that is super exciting in this moment because of that long game commitment to yourself, and because it's like thanking your body for being here and showing up for you. Okay, I'm going to keep you strong and moving and, take care of you. I think that's another really important mindset for people to think about.
Yeah, absolutely.
With this one.
Absolutely.
And to your point, just to segue, because I know you love my segues.
I love your segues.
Yes,
I do.
I'm good at them.
The segue queen.
When you talk about some days, the right thing to do is to skip the workout. Reason number 4 that you might hate exercise is because you're not resting or recovering enough. Man, people fall into this a lot. And a lot of times people are in denial, depending on your mindset, your personality. If you're like a hard driver, super disciplined person, it can be really hard to admit that you need rest, like your body actually needs rest. But if you're hating exercise, and especially if you're on some kind of training program that has progression built into it, where you're supposed to be, progressing in the weight room, or you're supposed to be running faster splits or whatever, you're supposed to be climbing that hill faster, and you're stagnating, this is one of the key signs that you just probably need a little break. Doesn't have to be a full break. It doesn't mean you stop moving your body. It just means like, let's maybe shift what you've been doing and kind of, pump the brakes a little bit and give yourself a chance to recover.
Right. Well, and it's funny because I think a lot of the language that, diet and fitness industries use around exercise is it really like, it perpetuates work, right? And kind of puts like work and rest as opposites versus like things that go hand in hand. Like they're friends, they need to work together. Like we need a good, healthy amount of both. And I think a lot of times we see rest and recovery as being lazy and a missed opportunity to do some more work. And sure, sometimes they can be that. I mean, it really depends on everything. Yes, sometimes, I can just not wanna have the not wannas and not, come in my little gym here and work out, or go to the gym and work out and just spend an hour on TikTok or watching Netflix or just doing something, unimportant. Absolutely. Yeah, those times happen. But at the same time, that's different than when you intentionally need rest and recovery. And I do think rest and recovery are different than being lazy. I think they're intentional choices to do intentional things, for specific reasons. But man, like if we see rest as the like enemy of work, we're in trouble.
Yeah.
You're going to get burned out because if every opportunity for you to rest is like, oh, I should work instead. I mean, mentally, emotionally, physically, you're going to get fried. That's just the way it is. Rest is so critical. Honestly, like if someone was like, hey, we can focus on 2 things to overhaul my health, but I can only focus on 2 things. I would probably focus on nutrition and sleep. I mean, maybe some sort of activity, like if you can walk or whatever. But I mean, to me, sleep is like, if someone's not sleeping well, I don't know that we really want to add a bunch of work to your week, because that's just going to make things worse. Like not sleeping puts your body in a severely stressed state, and it can disrupt hormone production. I mean, it just messes you up and you're not functioning well. And on top of that, when you're tired, you don't have as good as like resistance or self-control. Like we're just like, whatever to make me feel better, just bring it all in. Like I don't have good decision making. I don't have, the grit to be like, I'm going to hold off on that and make the meal I plan. It's just all that is harder. And recovery is really where growth happens, to be honest. Like,
yes,
like whether it's strength or whether it's muscle tissue, whatever it is, like the work, it breaks down. The work is damage. Not bad damage, but it's damage. And when we recover, that's how we get stronger. That's how we get more pliable. That's how we get, more muscle. Like all the things happen when we really recover well. And it's so critical, and it's so often treated as like the enemy to work, that it's just like, one or the other, right?
Yep.
Right. Why
I
would I
love
rest when
it.
I'm trying to work?
Yes, and you're totally speaking my language. In fact, I was working with a teenager last week
Mhm.
who has fallen into the red S category, which red S stands for relative energy deficiency in sport. So we had this really great conversation around energy availability, making sure that, I mean, she has a stress fracture, which is a cardinal sign of, what happens when we don't have enough energy available to cover body function and physical activity. And she has menstrual dysfunction. There's all these things that are saying your body isn't able to handle the work that you're putting on it.
Mhm.
And my message, one of my strong messages to her was, you get stronger through rest and recovery.
Mhm.
That's a hard concept for people to grasp because we're
Mhm.
told you get stronger from working hard. You get
Work
stronger
harder,
from,
get in the
I
gym
mean,
more. Yeah.
yes, you have to have the work and that stress on the muscle and the connective tissue and the bone and the system in
Mhm.
order to get that adaptation. But that adaptation does not happen without rest and recovery.
Right.
So trying to impress upon her that just drilling yourself every day is not going to yield adaptation
Right.
and gains. You
Right.
are going to have to rest and recover so you can bounce back. I'll often talk about like a rubber band analogy with people. You can
Mhm.
stretch and stretch and stretch and stretch that rubber band, but eventually it's going to snap if you don't allow it to kind of recoil a little bit and then you start stretching it again.
Right.
So I think it's really important for people to, and we're not just talking about exercise stress. I
Right.
mean, that's part of it. There's
But just
stress from a lot of
life.
other shit.
Yeah.
Yes.
Not sleeping.
So, yeah. So
Yeah.
if you're really finding it's hard to just get motivated to exercise, or you're like kind of hating your workouts and just being
Mhm.
disinterested, or if you're like literally physically not able to execute them for whatever reason, think about recovery, think about
Mhm.
rest, and
Mhm.
building a little more of that in. I will always err on the side of taking a little more rest versus
Yep.
pushing it, especially with like higher performance
Mhm.
athletes or like people that are on a
Absolutely.
training program.
Yeah.
I would really, and I had to learn this the hard way too, because I have that personality that wants to just keep driving and keep digging and keep
Mhm.
going. I needed to have really good coaches in my life, and Matt, who would really help
Yeah.
me learn, like, if you just give yourself a little more rest, you are going to feel and do better the
Yeah.
next time.
Yeah. Absolutely. I had a thought and I lost it. That's okay. But I do
It
think
always
it's,
comes back to
I know,
you.
right?
It'll come back.
I do think it's kind of like if you were going to the gym and you were going to squat a weight that you could do for 1 rep, but kind of barely, right? Like close to a 1 rep max. So you go into the gym and you squat that. And at this point, you have two options. You can do it again immediately, or you can wait 10 minutes and do it again, right? So what we're talking about is like, wait 10 minutes. You've put out a really good like energy output, right? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, close to a 1 rep max kind of fries your system for a little bit. You need to rest. This is how the strongest people in the world do it, right? Like they do like near rep, 1 or 3 or 5 rep maxes, and they rest a long time and then do it again. Or you can do it immediately and then rack it and then do it immediately again and do it. And guess what's going to happen? After 4 or 5 of those in a short time period, you're going to feel, one, exhausted. Two, this thing that was a lot easier 5 reps ago is going to be a lot freaking harder, not because the weight's heavier, but because you don't have as much in you. You're not recovering, you're not resting. And then you do 5 more and five. And at some point, you're going to go, I can't do this anymore. Like, I can't. Then not just physically, but like mentally, it's going to grind on you. Like, I barely got that last one up. I don't know if I can do it again. And so this is kind of where we wind up in our weeks. It's just like work, 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 work. And we get to a place where we're like just physically, mentally, and emotionally just like wilted. Like, I
Yeah.
just don't have it in me, and so I guess for me, what I really want to hammer home, and I know I said this already, but it's like work and rest are equally important.
Mm-hmm.
If anything, I'm like Aaron said, I'm going to err on the side of rest. I've literally had clients who have been like, hey, you know what, this next week, don't do any of your workouts. Try to go for a 10 to 20 minute walk every day, get good sleep. Let's try to focus on nutrition. And that's it. Like, let's just chill on the physical stress. And you know what happens? They come back the next week and like, oh, it feels so good to be back. I am crushing my numbers. My body feels great, because it's not all about work. It's these, they go hand in hand, and they've got to go hand in hand. And we have to see rest as a real critical part of long-term sustainable progress.
I love that word wilted that you just
Right.
used, because I get
How
a
it
visual
feels.
of like, I get a visual of like a plant that's kind of just
Mhm.
like, just shriveling up and sort of, I mean, it's alive, like it's there and in
Yeah.
existence. It's not quite dead yet, but it's
It
looking
doesn't have
pretty
enough to
sad.
be like, it's like,
Yeah.
oh, yeah, it looks pretty sad. It's having a rough
Yeah.
time.
It's flaccid.
It needs some sun and some water and just to chill for a bit.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
Did you say flaccid?
I did.
I couldn't let that one slide. Sorry.
I know. I was waiting. I was like, did he not catch that? This
Hey,
this
did you say
weekend.
flaccid? Because there we go.
That's what she said.
Covered in coffee stains. That's what she said.
Um,
Not.
I had a gravel clinic this weekend. This actually kind of dovetails into our final one, but I had a gravel clinic this weekend, and I was talking about braking on a
Mhm.
descent. And when you
Mhm.
have disc brakes on a bicycle, you don't need to squeeze with your whole hand. You really just need like your index finger up there on the brakes, and it grabs pretty quickly.
Mhm.
And I said, this is a one finger job, ladies. And they just started. There was this silence, but then people started giggling and snickering, and I was like, we can laugh at that. We're okay. And then I joked, like, I'm surprised it was toward the end of the clinic. I'm like, I'm surprised it took me that long to come out with some perverted, dirty-minded joke. Anyway, so yeah.
I just about did a spit take, just so you know. I had just drank some coffee and you said it. I was like, it was pretty close. Which
Yeah,
would have
it
been
was a good
great if
one.
like I splattered my camera with coffee. That would
That
have been
would be
great.
funny. Yeah.
All right.
Okay,
Reason
so
5.
our final one. Go for it.
Reason 5 that you hate your workout is because you are in a rut. Okay.
Yes.
So I think it's important to acknowledge that this seems a little bit like but wait, you said, sometimes you have to do it when you're not fun, when it's not fun and when you don't want to. Yes, you do. And sometimes you're in a rut. And this is why I think it's really important working with a coach like us, or a friend who at least you can be honest and talk things through with. Because what happens a lot of times is, yeah, I might have a client one week that's like, you know what, we just need to really drive our drive, right? We need to like dig in and like, let's just do hard things. Let's build some resiliency and some mental fortitude. We need to do those things. And other people, it can be like, hey, you know what? Let's switch some things up. For me, a good indicator is if someone is just like, I just kind of don't want, I'm not feeling it. Kind of that kind of attitude. It's like, hey, let's keep going. But if someone is genuinely like, their lack of interest is keeping them from getting to the gym on a regular basis.
Yeah.
To me, that's an indicator like, hey, let's switch some things up. Because I honestly think that most people could do the same training program for a year. And if they're continuing to push themselves, they're going to continue to make progress. Right.
Right.
But the trick is they're going to get bored. Right. So I always tell my clients, like when we're talking about switching up our training programs, I'm like, listen, we don't need to for me, right? Like, how are you feeling are you excited to do these workouts? Are you looking forward to them? Are you enjoying them? If so, we don't need to change anything. Let's keep riding it until you're like, I don't really want to do these anymore. But if the work and just the movements are just kind of like, I'm kind of in this kind of becoming a grind. Cool. Let's switch some stuff up so that it's like, hey, I like this exercise. I like that exercise, especially if they have exercises that they really don't like. After 3 or 4 weeks, they're like, I hate these two. Oh, let's get those out of there. Because if you have something you really hate doing that you're expected to do, that's going to get ugly fast. So I think if you're in a rut, if you are just kind of like, I'm tired of doing the same things. I'm tired of the same format. I'm tired of the same time or the same class or whatever. Mix it up. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I tend to like build out, months long plans and have an idea of where we want to go and that kind of stuff. At the same time, like, you're not going to do it wrong. If you want to do just whatever the fuck you want for a month in the gym, do it. Who
Right.
cares? Like, go have fun. I
I
mean, use a stopwatch. Use it. I mean, I could give examples of like things I've done, but just do something different. Go play, go
yes.
explore in the gym and just try some shit out. And then
That's
come back to me and like, hey, I use this machine. I really like it. Can we incorporate it? Absolutely. Look, a fun thing to look
yes.
forward to. Yeah.
That is my whole idea with this is make it fun. If
Mm-hmm.
you do run into, like Michael's exactly right. If you run into this period of time that is prolonged and it's not just, okay, I need to rest, or it's not just, okay, this is what happens when habits set in. And it's
Mm-hmm.
kind of like,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it's boring, but I still enjoy it. I feel good. If you're really like struggling with this, just, I am not doing it anymore because it sucks.
Right.
That
Right.
is what we're talking about with finding yourself in a rut here.
Mm-hmm.
It happens with just everyday recreational exercisers all the way up to elite athletes and pro athletes, where you just are like, you need to infuse some fun
Mm-hmm.
into it. So I want to use one of my clients as an example. She does these little walking challenges. She's been doing them ever since we started working together, which has been over a year. And this winter, spring, like earlier this spring, she was like, I'm just like she noticed she just wasn't doing as much of them. She wasn't into it and all this
Mm-hmm.
stuff. She, she got on like the Boise community, classes or calendar or whatever. And she took a ballet class. She signed up for pickleball. She decided to go to a new gym and try a new community center
Yeah.
gym. She just started doing all of this different stuff. And I just applauded her effort. She took like swing dancing classes. So then she got to meet new people, like all
Yeah.
through all of these things. She's met new people too. And it just helped her kind of feel like that newness again. Like, oh, I'm learning different skills. I'm putting myself out of my comfort zone. I'm just trying some
Mm-hmm.
different stuff. And I think that can be really, really helpful in a number of different ways. I mean, it's good for your brain to try
Mm-hmm.
different movements and activities,
Yeah.
and then socially engaged.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then for elite athletes or somebody that's on a training program, I mean, I think of things like, my coach, I'm thinking of one workout that my coach put in, the last couple of years I was training, where she would throw in like a mailbox fartlek run. And a fartlek is just varying pace. It's kind of like it's speed play is what it
Mm-hmm.
means. I think is it Swedish, or I can't remember what language, but anyway, it's speed play is really what it
Mm-hmm.
means. And so she threw in this mailbox fartlek, and what it was you run through the neighborhoods, and as soon as you pass a mailbox, you pick up your pace, and then you pass another mailbox, you slow it down, and then you pass another
Mm-hmm.
one, you pick it up, and you just like constantly back and forth and playing. And
Mm-hmm.
it just depended on what street you were on, if you
Mm-hmm.
hit a bunch of mailboxes or if you didn't. And so you were constantly varying your pace and playing around with it, and it
Yeah.
forces you to pay attention to your environment and to get
Yeah.
creative with the different pacing. And it made it fun. It made it a
Mm-hmm.
game for me,
Mm-hmm.
instead of just going out and having her giving me this structured run with tempo and whatever. It was like, okay,
Absolutely.
here we go, we're gonna make a game out of it. And there's
Yeah.
there's lots of examples of that.
Yeah. And I think that's the big thing is it's the mental aspect. Like usually what I find is people aren't bored physically, they're bored mentally, right? Like I'm not having to, really think about these exercises much. I can kind of go through it without a whole lot of like really being intentional mentally, which there can be some benefits there, but also it can be some drawbacks. Um, but yeah, when you mix things up and all of a sudden you're having to kind of like think more about what am I doing here and how does this go, it can help you engage a lot more and you feel your body better because you're engaged and you feel movements better. Probably work harder because you're just, really thinking about it. And a couple of things I like to do, and I think I'm going to do a reel on this in like a few weeks, but is a deck of cards workout. I do this with my
Yes,
kids
I
a
love
lot.
it.
I've done it with clients. Like, you got 4 suits, right? Pick 4 exercises. Spades is squats, clubs, push-ups, diamonds, jumping jacks, hearts, I don't know, crunch, I don't
Dead
know,
bugs.
whatever. Yeah, sure, dead bugs. And then you'd flip over a card, and if it's spades and it's a 10, then you do 10 squats. If it's a dead bug, whatever that was, and a 3, then you do 3. And we just go through it, and it's fun because it's varied. You don't know what's coming up. You might, you don't have to go through the whole deck because that's a lot. We usually don't. But say you go through 20 cards, you don't know what's going to be in there. 10 of them might be one exercise, and the other 10 might be split. It's really varied. Another thing I like to do is density training. And so this is like pick 3 exercises, like, maybe a lower body, like lunges, and then an upper body pull, like, seated rows, let's say, or a dumbbell row, and then push-ups or something like that. And what you do is you select a weight, set a timer for 15 minutes, and you do the lunges you can do until your forearms start to break down and they get really hard. Then you move on to the next exercise, and you move on to the next one. And after the third one, you rest as much as you feel like you need to rest, and you go back to the first one. And you keep track how many reps of every exercise can I do in that 15 minutes. And then next week, when I come back to this exercise, I try to get a few reps more than I did the previous week. So I'm trying to increase the density of work I do in a set amount of time. And that's a really fun way to do things too. Kick your ass in 15 minutes,
Right.
in and out real quick. It's a fun way to approach things. It's kind of like a challenge to yourself. Like, can I beat last time? And, and there are a bunch of ways to do this. Like, you don't have to work out in a certain format. You don't have to do a certain body part split. I mean, there's so many ways you can do this. And honestly, you can just do what you want, not forever.
I love it though. It's so simple. Like, just do what you want. Like, do what feels good and what fits for you.
Yeah. I mean, like, in the gym, I have concerns as a trainer for, like, if someone's always pushing, bench pressing and stuff and never pulling.
Right.
We need strong shoulders, and we got to pull. We got to have balance. But at the same time, like, if you for a month or 3 just go to the gym and do whatever the fuck you want to do, go have fun, go try stuff out, just explore and play, and no have to's, and know this is how it's got to go, you're going to be better off for it. I guarantee you'll be better off for it, because you're going to learn how I enjoy moving my body. And when you can learn how you enjoy moving your body, we have a really strong basis to build exercise on, right? Like, what do you love? What feels good? Cool. Let's do a lot of that, and some other things that maybe you aren't as crazy about. But let's keep most of it the things you love. And then it's a lot easier to do.
Yeah. The last thing I'm going to say about the rut is it may not have to do with your exercise routine at all. So I mentioned that I did a gravel clinic this weekend, and I saw a friend there. She attended the clinic that I hadn't seen since, I don't even think I saw her. I saw her at some point last year. And she had told me, she kind of asked me, she's like, hey, I have a nutrition question. She said that she felt like she was bonking all the time, running low on blood sugar. She's like, I mean, I think it might be my fueling. And we kind of had a conversation around, like, how much are you eating before a workout? What's the rest of your day like? Are you, skipping meals and snacks? And everything kind of sounded intact. I gave her a few things to try, but we talked about menstrual cycles. We talked about, like, all the things that could be impacting this. And we talked about her training routine. Do you need some rest? Do you need, different things? So I see her at the gravel clinic this weekend, and I'm asking her, like, how she's doing and, what she's got on top this year. And she's like, I changed jobs. I feel like a new person. I was like, what? And so she goes, yep, all of the things I was experiencing was stress and unfulfillment in my job. I was like, did you know that when we talked? And she's like, I think I did, but I was looking for any other explanation. Like, she was a little bit of denial, but a little bit of fear around that thing. And I think this is a good reminder for all of us when it comes to these things, that when we start shoulding all over ourselves, you should be able to handle this load. You should be able to get up at 5 a.m. for your workout. You should have the energy to do blah, 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 is to really, like, zoom out a little bit and be very honest about what's going on in your life that could be creating that rut, that feeling of, I am just tired, like, deeply tired. Your body knows. It's very wise. And even if your brain won't acknowledge what's going on, your body keeps the score.
Right.
And there's a book on that.
Yeah.
So pay attention to those other things that might not have anything to do with your exercise routine, really, but that is why you're in the rut.
Yeah. And that's why, we talk about so much, like you got to look at all the areas, right? Because if we're like, oh, I need to work out, and the reason I don't want to work out is solely because of one factor, well, then we're probably missing the boat. You know what I mean? Like we got to look at everything because everything's connected. You know what I mean? You got stress in one area, you got stress in every area, right? Like if you're mentally stressed, then your emotional health and your physical health and your spiritual and all the other things suffer. And that's, you pull one thread, everything gets moved. And yeah, that's why we talk about it so much. Like we got to, this 360 degree, let's look at everything because everything matters, But that's crazy that she felt so much better. That it was just work.
I mean, it was just like it was like a light bulb moment for her. And just seeing her face when she was telling me this, I was like, oh, she really found the key, and she feels so much better this year.
That's awesome.
And I was really pleased to hear it too, just because I was like, man, how many people are out there just driving themselves into the ground because for whatever reason we can't see or won't see what the real issue is behind that. So yeah.
All right.
So
there you have it.
Yes.
Top 5 reasons you hate your workout, and we just fixed them all for you. So you have no reason to hate your workout ever again. That's what Erin's saying.
Love your
I'm
workouts.
not saying that, but
and what's your meeting?
Real quick before that, just a quick reminder, if you can be a supporter of the podcast, through Anchor. I think we have a link for that if you'd like to support us monthly. In addition to sharing and subscribing and all that stuff, we appreciate our monthly subscribers and the support they give. So you can do that as well. Okay. Yes. Meeting in the mundane.
Yes.
You go first because I
have one.
She has one.
I have one. So Matt and I were going for a block walk last week, and these 2 ducks come out of nowhere and go, and it's mating season. There's lots of mallard ducks in our neighborhood. These 2 ducks come kind of swooping down and flying across our path. And we're like, was that an albino duck? There was clearly a male mallard, and its companion was white. I've never seen this before. Same size as a mallard. We were like, did we see what we thought we just saw? And then we're kind of questioning, like, I've never seen an albino duck in the wild before. So we see the duck fly off, and we're kind of like, man, I wish we would have gotten a better, view of it. Like, we'll probably never see it again. Well, I was upstairs in our bathroom this morning, and these ducks are flying outside my window, and there's the albino duck. And I was like, what? And so I come downstairs, and as soon as I got on the podcast with Michael, I was like, there it goes. Like, I'm watching it outside my window, and I'm so distracted because I really want to see, I want to get a picture of it, and I really want to see if it's an albino mallard female duck. I think it's super cool.
Are its feet white?
I can't tell because she's flying, and so they tuck their feet, right? So I need to see her when her landing gear is down so I can try and detect. I mean, I don't know what color her bill is, if it's, pink or orange or a different color than a typical mallard with that like gray bill. So I don't know. I just think it's super cool though. Matt and I have started doing more bird watching lately. Just because it's so accessible where we are right now. Like we see tons of them, and we just are like kind of obsessed with it. And so I'm really curious about this albino duck. Yeah.
You're going to have to give us a duck update, a duck date,
a duck date,
duck date. Yeah. Yeah. I love it. All right. We'll get like sound effect. This just in. Duck date.
I like it.
For me, mine was just yesterday morning. Sophie was up, and I was up kind of earlier than everybody else, and we were snuggling in the chair watching cartoons, and I was drinking my coffee, and I was kind of sitting here, and she was sitting over here, just kind of had her arms around me. We're just like snuggled up. And I told her, I was like, okay, I got to get up and make breakfast. And she was like, no, just one more minute. It's like, oh, okay.
Oh,
okay, all right. And then, a few minutes later, I was like, all right, babe, I got to get up. Oh, no, not yet. And it's like, okay. Because usually, like, when it's like, okay, I need to get up, she's like, no, not yet. And then it's like, okay, you wait a minute. You're like, okay, now I need to go. And she's like, okay. And this was like 6 times, 7 times. It probably took about 30 minutes of her. She was like, no, not yet, not yet, not yet. And just her wanting me to stay. Yeah, we weren't talking at all. We're just watching. I don't remember what cartoon she was watching. But just like, no, stay here with me. Yeah, that was the best.
Know.
No, just
That's
no,
so
don't go, don't
sweet.
go. Yeah, it was the best.
Cute.
Yeah.
And breakfast still got made. It was fine.
It may have been 11 o'clock. Who cares?
It's fine. It's
I'm
Sunday. Who cares?
Literally not worried about it one bit.
Yep. I like that.
All right.
Okay, everyone.
Good
Thanks
stuff.
for listening.
Thank you. Yeah, we appreciate y'all.
We'll catch you next time.
All right. Bye-bye.